The Calloway house sat at the end of Maple Ridge Drive like it had been placed there on purpose, far enough from the neighbors to feel private, but close enough to look safe. The white porch lights glowed warmly against the darkening sky, giving the home a soft, welcoming appearance. It was the kind of house Lena Morris usually loved babysitting at, clean, quiet, and peaceful. But tonight, as Lena parked her car and stepped out into the chilly evening air, something felt wrong. She couldn't explain it. There was no noise, no sign of trouble, just a strange heaviness in her chest, like her instincts were whispering a warning she didn't want to hear. She brushed it off. She was tired, that was all. College exams had been brutal. Still, she hesitated for a moment before walking up the driveway. Before she could knock, the front door opened. "Lena," Claire Calloway said brightly, already dressed in a black evening gown, "you're right on time." Behind her, David Calloway adjusted his tie, glancing nervously at his watch. "Sorry if we seem rushed. Dinner reservations are impossible to move." "That's okay," Lena replied, forcing a smile. Claire stepped aside, letting her in. The house smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and something sweet like baked cookies. Everything was spotless, too spotless, like no one really lived there. "The kids are already in bed. Evan fell asleep right away and Maya wasn't far behind. You probably won't even hear a peep." Lena nodded, setting her bag by the couch. David handed her a slip of paper. "Emergency numbers, our cell phones, and the alarm code. We should be back before midnight." Claire stopped at the door. "And Lena, if you hear any strange noises, it's just the house settling. This place is old, it creaks." That was strange. The house didn't look old at all. But before Lena could ask, the door closed behind them. The silence hit instantly. The TV was off. The air felt still. Even the clock on the wall ticked quietly, like it was afraid to make too much noise. Lena sat on the couch and turned on the TV for comfort. A comedy show played, but she barely watched it. Her eyes kept drifting toward the dark hallway leading to the stairs. After about 40 minutes, her phone buzzed, a message from her friend. "How's the babysitting?" Lena typed back, "Easy money, kids are asleep." Another vibration interrupted her reply. Thump. The sound came from upstairs. She froze. Probably just a kid rolling over, she told herself. Still, she muted the TV and listened. Thump. Then something that sounded like a slow footstep. Her stomach tightened. "Evan?" she called. "Maya?" No response. She stood up, grabbing her phone and slipping it into her pocket. Slowly, she walked to the stairs. Each step creaked as she climbed. The hallway of stairs was dimly lit by a small nightlight. Shadows stretched along the walls. The door to Evan's room was cracked open. She pushed it gently. "Hey, Evan?" The boy was asleep, snoring softly, wrapped in his blankets. Relief washed over her. She turned to Maya's room. The door was wide open. Maya's bed was neatly made. Empty. "Maya?" Lena whispered, stepping inside. No answer. Her heart began to pound. The child wasn't in the bathroom, not in the closet, not under the bed. That's when Lena noticed something odd. The window was unlocked. A cool breeze drifted through the curtains. Lena hurried back into the hallway. "Maya?" she called louder now. That's when she heard a soft sound from downstairs. A door opening. Her blood ran cold. The Calloways were not supposed to be home. Lena rushed to the top of the stairs and peered down. The basement light was on. It hadn't been before. "Maya?" she called again, fear creeping into her voice. No reply. Lena swallowed hard and took a step down. Whatever was happening in that house, it wasn't normal, and the babysitter was about to discover just how deadly this quiet night was going to become. The staircase into the basement felt colder with every step Lena took. The air thickened, carrying the smell of damp concrete and something faintly metallic. Her heart hammered so loudly she was sure anyone below could hear it. "Maya?" she whispered again, her voice shaking. The light at the bottom flickered, throwing long, trembling shadows across the walls. Lena held her phone like a shield as she reached the last step. That's when she saw the slipper. A tiny pink shoe sat in the middle of the floor, just a few feet from the bottom of the stairs. Maya's shoe. Lena picked it up, her hands trembling. Something had dragged the child down here. Then she heard it. A quiet whimper. "Maya?" She ran toward the sound, past stacks of old boxes and a broken washing machine. In the far corner of the basement, under a bare hanging bulb, Maya sat on the cold floor. Her wrists were loosely tied with a piece of white rope, her cheeks wet with tears. "Oh my God," Lena whispered as she rushed to her. "Are you hurt?" Maya shook her head violently. "He said Mommy told him to bring me here." Lena's blood went cold. "Who?" Before Maya could answer, a slow clap echoed behind them. "Well done, babysitter." Lena spun around. A tall man stood in the shadows near the stairs. He wore a dark hoodie pulled low over his face. In one gloved hand, he held a knife that caught the basement light. "Let her go," Lena said, stepping in front of Maya. "The parents will be home any minute." The man chuckled softly. "They're not coming home." Lena's heart skipped. "What do you mean? Not alive, anyway." A wave of nausea hit her. The words felt too real, too final. The man stepped closer. "You see, Lena, you walked into something much bigger than babysitting tonight." "How do you know my name?" "I know everything about this family, and now I know about you, too." Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from upstairs. The man froze. That's not supposed to happen yet. The sound of the front door opening drifted down. "Claire? David?" A woman's voice called. Lena's breath caught. That was Claire's voice. The man cursed under his breath. They came back early. Lena stared at him. "You said they were dead." He smiled coldly. "I said they weren't coming home alive." The basement door slammed shut. A lock clicked into place. They were trapped. Maya began to cry softly. Lena pulled her close, trying to think. "What do you want?" Lena demanded. The man leaned against a shelf. "Justice." "For what?" "For what they did to my sister." Lena frowned. "Your sister?" "She used to work for them, nanny, 5 years ago. She disappeared." His eyes burned with rage. "The police never found her body. The Calloway said she quit. Lies." Lena felt a chill. "You think they killed her?" "I know they did." Upstairs, footsteps moved closer to the basement door. "Is someone down there?" Claire's voice called. The man laughed softly. Perfect timing. Before Lena could stop him, he pulled out his phone and pressed a button. Suddenly, screams filled the basement, recorded screams, but real enough to send terror through Lena's veins. "What are you doing?" Lena shouted. "Showing them what they deserve." The basement door rattled. "Open this door!" David yelled. The man smiled at Lena. "They'll come down here, and when they do, the truth comes out." Maya clutched Lena's arm. "They hurt people," she whispered. "I saw." "What did you see, Maya?" "They had someone down here before, a lady." Lena's heart pounded. The story was real. The lock turned. The door swung open. Claire and David rushed in and froze when they saw the man with the knife. "You," Claire whispered. "Hello, Claire. Miss me?" David stepped forward. "This has nothing to do with the kids. Let them go." Oh, it has everything to do with them. They live in a house built on murder. Claire began to cry. We didn't mean for it to happen. Lena's stomach dropped. What? The man pointed the knife at them. Say her name. Claire's lips trembled. Emily, my sister. Silence filled the basement. You killed her, the man said quietly. David shook his head. It was an accident. She found out about the money we were stealing. We panicked. And buried her in your own basement. Maya sobbed. I heard her crying one night. The truth had finally been spoken, but now they were all trapped in the same room with a killer who had waited years for revenge, and someone wasn't going to make it out alive. The basement felt smaller now, as if the walls themselves were closing in on everyone inside. The single bulb above flickered, casting distorted shadows over the faces of Claire, David, Lena, Maya, and the man with the knife, Ethan, Emily's brother. You buried her here, Ethan said, his voice shaking with rage. 5 years and not a single day has passed where I didn't think about her screaming in the dark while you two went on living your perfect little life. Claire dropped to her knees. We were scared. She threatened to go to the police. We just wanted her to stop talking. You wanted her to disappear, Ethan snapped. David stepped forward slowly, hands raised. This doesn't have to end with anyone else getting hurt. Let the kids go. Let Lena go. Ethan's eyes flashed. You didn't give my sister that chance. Lena stood frozen, her mind racing. Ethan was telling the truth, but the knife in his hand meant everyone was still in danger. Maya clung to her side, shaking. You want justice, Lena said carefully. Killing them won't bring Emily back. Ethan's jaw tightened. Neither did the police. They closed her case after 6 months. Because you never showed them the proof, Claire whispered. Ethan looked at her sharply. You kept Emily's phone, Claire said, tears running down her face. I saw you searching it weeks after she vanished. Lena's heart skipped. Is that true? Ethan hesitated, just a fraction of a second, but enough. David seized the moment. He lunged. The basement erupted into chaos. David slammed into Ethan, knocking the knife from his hand. It skidded across the concrete floor. Claire screamed. Maya cried out. Lena rushed forward, pulling Maya away. Ethan and David crashed into a stack of boxes, sending them tumbling. Ethan punched David hard, blood bursting from his nose. You murdered her, Ethan roared. David grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and swung it wildly. Ethan ducked, barely, and the pipe struck the wall with a loud clang. Lena's eyes darted to the knife lying near her feet. She knew what she had to do. She picked it up. Stop, she shouted, both of you. But neither man listened. David swung again. Ethan grabbed the pipe and the two struggled, muscle straining. Claire sobbed hysterically, begging them to stop. Lena stepped forward. This is enough. The kids don't deserve to see this. Ethan shoved David back. You don't get to tell me what's enough. David slipped on the concrete, straight into Lena. The knife fell from her hand. Ethan dove for it. Too late. David grabbed the blade first. For a moment, the basement went completely silent. Then David stabbed. Ethan gasped, staring down at the knife buried in his stomach. Blood spilled through his fingers. No, Lena whispered. Ethan stumbled backward, collapsing against the shelves, his eyes locked on Claire. You still don't get it. This house is cursed. He slid down to the floor. Dead. Maya screamed. Claire collapsed beside Ethan's body, shaking. David, what did you do? David dropped the knife. He was going to kill us. I had no choice. Lena stared at him, horrified. You murdered him, just like you murdered Emily. That was different. She forced us into it. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Lena's breath caught. Did someone call the police? Maya nodded through tears. I did, on Mommy's phone when I was hiding. David's face drained of color. You stupid child, he hissed. Lena stepped between them. "Don't you dare touch her." David's eyes were wild now, cornered. "We can fix this," he said desperately. "Claire, tell them Ethan broke in, that he attacked us." Claire looked at him slowly. "No." "What?" "I'm done lying. Emily didn't deserve to die. Neither did Ethan." David backed away. "You can't do this to me." "You did this to yourself." Sirens grew louder. David looked around the basement, then at Lena. "This doesn't end with me in a prison cell," he said quietly. He ran up the stairs. Lena screamed as he bolted up the stairs. She grabbed Maya and held her tight. Moments later, a gunshot echoed through the house. Silence followed. The police burst in minutes later. They found David Calloway dead in the living room, a self-inflicted wound. The Calloway family was over, but the truth was finally out. The Calloway house never looked the same after that night. By the time the police finished their investigation, the once beautiful home on Maple Ridge Drive was surrounded by yellow tape and television vans. Reporters stood outside, shouting questions that no one wanted to answer. Inside, the truth was slowly being uncovered. Detectives dug up the basement floor 2 days later. Beneath the cold concrete, they found the remains of Emily Carter, the nanny who had vanished 5 years earlier. The medical examiner confirmed what Ethan had always believed. She had been alive when she was buried. The discovery shocked the town. Claire Calloway was arrested and charged with murder, conspiracy, and child endangerment. Her emotional confession, recorded by police, told everything: how Emily had discovered the couple's illegal financial dealings, how they had panicked, how fear had turned into violence. The town that once admired the Calloways now spoke their names with disgust. And in the middle of it all stood Lena Morris, the babysitter who had walked into a nightmare and survived. The media called her a hero, but Lena didn't feel like one. She couldn't forget Ethan's final words, or the look in David's eyes as he realized his life was over, or the sound of Maya screaming when it all fell apart. Lena quit babysitting forever. Maya and Evan were placed in foster care while the courts decided their future. The trauma had changed them. Evan barely spoke. Maya still woke up crying in the night, whispering about the lady in the basement. Lena visited them whenever she could. One afternoon, as Lena sat beside Maya in a quiet playroom, the little girl looked up at her. "Is the house gone now?" Maya asked softly. Lena nodded. "It will be torn down." Maya looked relieved. "Good. She doesn't have to be lonely anymore." Lena didn't ask who she meant. But the story didn't end there. 3 months after the trial, Lena received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a small flip phone. Emily's phone. Lena's hands shook as she turned it on. There was one unread message saved. "If you find this, it means they finally paid." Attached was a video. Lena hesitated, then pressed play. The screen showed Emily, terrified, locked inside the basement, but behind her, just for a second, the camera captured something chilling. Another figure. Someone else standing in the shadows. Not Claire, not David. Someone Lena didn't recognize. A third person had been there that night. The police had closed the case, but someone else had walked away, and they were still out there. The house may have been torn down, but its secrets were not finished killing.